All right, folks, this might be the most important interview that you hear in quite some time, because you need to be aware of what has happened in the state of Wisconsin. In the wake of I guess, the frustration on the part of the left at the success of Scott Walker with the moves he made against the unions, with the recall where he beat them and then won re-election again, there's a law in Wisconsin which allows the police to break into your house, to break the door down in the middle of the night, take you away, and not tell you why. And then it's against the law for you to tell anybody about it. No, it's not Nazi Germany, it's Wisconsin. And it's all politically motivated. It was targeting supporters of Scott Walker who did nothing illegal. Joining us now is a man who has exposed this at National Review, co-author of New York Times #1 bestseller, Rise of ISIS, A Threat We Can't Ignore. David French joins us. David, congratulations, because this is really resonating.
Well, I tell you, all of the credit goes to three women who were brave enough, one on the record, two off the record anonymously, to tell the story of what happened to them and their families when they were targeted for a secret investigation by a partisan Democratic district attorney.
All right. First of all, let me ask you this, and we don't have a lot of time. We only have about 5 minutes. Why isn't Scott Walker talked about this? Why has he been silent on this? As far as I know.
You know, I don't know. Early on in the investigation, there may have been some concerns that if he was seen to use his public voice, that people would perceive him as putting his thumb on the scales of justice. But once the investigation morphed into essentially a witch hunt against anyone associated with him, against conservatives who are trying to advocate for conservative causes in the state of Wisconsin, I believe he should have spoken out clearly and forcefully about what was going on. I'm a little bit confused as to why he hasn't. That's one thing I'm going to be taking a look at.
All right, talk about the law that allows this. What's it called, and how did it get to be the law?
It's called a John Doe law, and this is something that's unique to Wisconsin and essentially allows a prosecutor, with permission of a court, to launch an investigation that's secret on his end, which is normal. Grand jury investigations, the proceedings before a grand jury are secret, but then can require the targets of the investigation, the people who are being investigated, ordinary citizens, to maintain absolute silence about the existence of this investigation. Now, they claim this law was passed to protect potential innocent people by maintaining total secrecy. But the reality is, already under a normal grand jury investigation, if somebody doesn't want to talk about it publicly, they don't have to.
Right.
But in this circumstance, they were prohibited from speaking, which meant that the prosecutor could engage in these very public actions like raids and then require that these families not tell friends, not tell family members. Their kids couldn't even tell their friends at school what had happened to them, which created this incredible cloud of suspicion around innocent Wisconsin citizens that they had no ability to dispel.
Because their friends and their neighbors saw them being led away in the middle of the night.
Oh, absolutely.
And then they couldn't talk about it. How many people did this happen to?
Well, it's not exactly clear because of the secrecy orders. As many as 8 to 10 homes were raided like this, maybe, give or take a few, multiple families impacted. And then that doesn't even count these incredibly broad subpoenas that were sent out to organizations, not just in Wisconsin, but around the country, and also subpoenas that allowed prosecutors to read these individuals' private emails, all their private electronic messages. They engaged in an electronic snooping operation that would make the NSA blush.
All right. But a court had to sign off on this. Who are the corrupt people here? Who are the guilty parties here that allowed this to happen? Why would a court sign off on this?
There were multiple layers of guilty parties here. So you had a court, a judge named Barbara Kluka, who signed off on hundreds and hundreds of pages of subpoenas and search warrants in one afternoon of work. And then when some of the targets of the investigation finally challenged what was happening, she abruptly recused herself without explanation. So you had a judge fail here. You had the DA who launched the investigation, the investigators who went into people's homes, taunting them, screaming at them, yelling at them, And then you had the police who chose to engage in these incredibly heavy-handed tactics. You don't need a dozen police officers swarming through a home to serve a simple search warrant to get a hard drive.
All right. What's going to happen here? Are people going to be held responsible? Is there any recourse?
Well, people are being held responsible finally now in the court of public opinion.
What about law? No.
Law, that remains an open question. Supreme Court, in fact, this week is considering whether to hear a civil action brought on against John Chisholm, and there may be more litigation to come. Remains to be seen.
David,
but there's unfortunately a huge array of legal defenses that Chisholm can present.
David, keep us informed on this. David French, National Review, thank you very much. We're coming back next, folks. Don't go away.